and we're back for lesson 2 of the intensive 4-week TOEFL course. Hopefully you were able to watch lesson 1 already, and you saw that we introduced 2 out of the 4 skills on the iBT TOEFL exam, and those were the skills of speaking and writing. And today, for lesson 2, I am going to show you the other 2 skills, reading and reading and listening. And so this will be our first chance to take a look at each of these skills. And for those of you who are a little bit new to the iBT, who have never taken the exam before or gone through a practice book of any kind, we'll go nice and slow this first reading lesson and this first listening lesson. And I will show you things in the book. I will also be sharing with you many of my own strategies. So first of all, make sure that you have the book with you. Okay, this is the Thompson Complete Guide to the TOEFL Test, iBT edition by Bruce Rogers. So we will be using this book throughout the 4-week course. And if you thought you were going to have it easy, you realize that was not the case in lesson 1 when I left you with some homework to do. And just like in lesson 1, there will be times when I'll ask you to stop, to pause the lesson, and to do some of the work on your own, and then come and restart the lesson again. I can't stop the lesson and leave, a blank space in it for you to work. So you'll have to control that on your own, which should be no problem. Okay, to start lesson 2, we are going to be taking a look, first of all, at reading. And reading has been a part of the TOEFL since the beginning, from the days of the PBT, the paper-based TOEFL. However, as you can see in your book, it looks much, much different these days for the iBT. So why don't you take out your book, and I would like us to begin on page 6. So turn the Thompson book to page 6. And what you see on page 6, page 7, 8, and 9, those 4 pages, you actually see some screenshots. This is what your computer screen will look like when you sign up to take the real iBT, and you go into the testing center, and they sign you in one by one, and they check your passport or driver's license. They take a picture of you with a webcam, and then the computer automatically sends you to one of the computers in the center, and your picture pops up, and you get all situated. The very first section that you work on as part of the iBT is the reading. There'll be some instructions. However, by the time you finish my course, you won't need the instructions. You'll know everything there is about the reading section. You can click through, and then eventually your screen will look like this. On the right side of the screen will be the reading passage, and on the left side of the screen, once you click the next button, you'll be able to see each question. Okay? Now, if any of you took the CBT version of the TOEFL, the computer-based TOEFL, you know that this is a switch, that in the CBT, the reading passages were on the left, the questions were on the right. Why did they change that? I'm not sure. Someone with a PhD, a doctoral degree, I'm sure got paid a lot of money to study that and figured out that it was easier to go from passage on the right to question on the left than the other way around. So that's what we have in front of us here. So let's look at that picture on page 6 and see what we have. And I'm going to point out some of the buttons. Okay. First of all, of course, the passage does not fit in the entire screen. So you have the scroll bar and the up arrow and the down arrow on the far right. Okay. You have a clock in the upper left. That tells you how much time you have. And basically on the iBT, you will have 20 minutes per passage. Okay? 20 minutes per passage. And I'm saying per passage, not for the whole reading section, because I have some bad news for you if you didn't know this. When you sign up to take the TOEFL exam, they may use you to do some research. What I mean by that is you're supposed to get 3 passages, 20 minutes each, so that would be 60 minutes or an hour. However, some of you will be randomly chosen to respond to 5 passages. Some of you will get 2 extra passages, and you will get the extra time, so you will get 40 extra minutes. However, this is a little bit, in my opinion, unfair, because it means you'll be spending almost 2 hours and that's just on the reading section before you get to the other 3 skills. So it's kind of unfortunate. It's totally random. Why do they do this? Well, they want to test out reading passages and questions to make sure they're fair. So the good news is, since they're picking people at random and testing these, you know when you get your test, and hopefully it's only the regular 3 passages, you know that these questions and passages have been tested, they're fair. If there was a super confusing question that many people interpreted differently, they would have thrown that question out. So be prepared for as many as 5 passages. Hopefully you'll just get 3. And the way that you do this is they'll split it into 2 sections. One section will be 1 passage, and you'll have 20 minutes to complete it. And then you'll go to a section where you'll have 2 passages combined, and you'll have 40 minutes. And one thing I want to tell you is, using the arrows, and you can see pictures of the arrows in your book where it says next and back in the upper right, you can navigate forwards and backwards through the test. So that's a very important thing to know. You do not need to answer each question in order, as you do, for example, on the listening test or in the speaking section. You can't go back to an old question. On the reading, you can move backwards and forwards throughout that section. Okay? However, once you finish the 20-minute section, you go next. Okay, now you're into the 40-minute section. You can't go back to your original passage. Okay? So we have the question number is listed there at the top on the menu bar. You have your clock. There's a little button to hide your clock. I have no idea why you would want to do that unless you're getting too nervous. I'm not sure. There's a button that most people don't know about. It's on the top, a little bit to the right of center. It's called the review button. And if you take a look, I'll give you a page number. If you take a look at page 10, just briefly move over to page 10, this is what happens if you click the review button. It will show you a list of all the questions that correspond to that particular reading passage. And it will give you the first few words of the question to kind of remind you, did I see that question yet? Also, under the status column, it will say either answered or not answered. So if you get to question 6 and it's too confusing and you're wasting too much time, you can skip it, click next, but do not answer it, because if you do, it will show up as answered. However, if you leave it as not answered and you go through a few more questions and then later you forget which one you answered, all you have to do is click on the review button and it will show you a chart like this, and it will show you exactly which questions you've answered. Now, for each reading passage, you will have to answer usually between 11 and 13 questions. However, it will add up to 14 points. And that might sound weird, but on the new TOEFL, the iBT, the last question in every section is a chart. And it's actually worth more than 1 point, and you are able to get partial credit. So you could actually get 2 points out of 3, or 1 out of 2 points on this final chart. And we will be covering that later, okay? We'll be going through all the different types of questions. On the old TOEFL, the PBT, there are about 7 question types. You know them, like main idea, detail, vocabulary. And then they invented 1 or 2 new ones on the CBT, computer-based TOEFL, iBT as well. They've brought out some brand new question types, such as the paraphrase question, where they highlight an entire sentence in the passage, and then you get 4 choices. You have to pick the one that's the best restatement, the most accurate and most complete. Okay, so that's the review button. Okay, why don't we turn back to page 8 now, 8 and 9. Now you see that you see what it looks like with an actual question on the left and the passage on the right. And this is talking about highlights and paragraph markers. Let's read over some of that together. The arrows and highlighted text will help you find parts of the passage and specific words or sentences that are asked about. Most questions tell you the number of the paragraph, so it will say according to paragraph 3, for example, and you can count down 3 paragraphs. Sometimes they'll even give you the arrow. These paragraphs are not numbered in the TOEFL